right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get started here. So if everybody can please find your seat. All right, I just want to make sure everybody has a seat. Everybody's seated. It looks like we're good. Looks like we're good as far as everybody having a chair. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the 19th annual Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, the induction ceremony, or as it's become known, the Coatesville Family Sports Reunion. My name is Scott Kershey, and I'm the current president of the Hall of Fame Committee, and I will be your master of ceremonies for this evening. We begin our evening tonight with a tradition we started several years ago, and that is a procession of our inductees escorted by a member of our Hall of Fame committee. So we're going to get started with that. And let me get my notes here. First of all, we are recognizing the 1994 girls basketball team state champions. Escorted tonight, members, representatives of that team are escorted by Frances Washington. We have head coach Renee Talley and her assistant coach Carol Wagner. Next, we have our Max Stuber Award winner. It's Jane Johnson, escorted always by the Stuber family, and tonight it's Tina Stuber escorting Jane. Our first of our regular inductees tonight, athletes, Jerry Rubincam, escorted by John Gathercole. Our next inductee, Voncille Grove Gray, escorted by Ruth Martin. Our next inductee, Stephan Lewis, escorted by Jeff Chalfant. Next we have Tonetta Turner Ingram, escorted by Terry Johnson Lynch. Our next inductee is Erik Morris, escorted by Dr. Horace Voncille. Our next inductee is David Benn, escorted by Dave Rohde. Our next inductee, Mike Rissell, escorted by Bill Richards. Our one senior inductee tonight, Ed Streett, could not be here. He will be represented later on in the evening by Bob Coulter. So our next inductee is Kenya Woodall, escorted by Scott Shortledge. Our next inductee is Shawn Skellenger, represented tonight by his parents. Shawn being represented by his mother, Linda Skellenger, and his father, Mark Skellenger. Escort was by Gary Gill of the committee. And finally, our final inductee, Ryan Shaver, we have in the program, if you note, special recognition. Ryan also can't be here tonight, but I will explain his very unique circumstances later on in the evening. So there are your inductees for this evening. I would now like to introduce Tina Stuber, who will give our invocation for tonight. Tina.
It's a privilege for me tonight to give the invocation in honor and memory of Marty Connor. Let's pray. Giver to all things, as we come together tonight to celebrate the annual Coatesville Sports Hall of Fame winners, we reflect upon the many talents you have given us. Help us, Lord, to remember that it is our responsibility to use these divine gifts you have given us. Remind us what it means to be real winners in your eyes, to always do our best, to never quit the race, to respect our friends, family, coaches, and ourselves. May our friendships be strengthened and our lives broadened. Lord, as we gather for this banquet, we remember those souls we lost this past year. We hold dear in our hearts the memories of Marty Connor, William Clinton, and Jean Bernight. These men embody joy, love, and a dedication to sports and life. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are a part of each of us. And now we give thanks for this special time and for the food we are about to eat. Please bless it to our use and guide us so that we may be the best we can be. In your name, amen.
At this time, following our old tradition that we've always done, I would ask everybody to please rise, face the flag, and we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Then after the Pledge of Allegiance, please remain standing as David Stuber will lead us in a verse of God Bless America. Are we ready, folks? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now David Stuber will lead us in a verse of God Bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's sing this one loud and Coatesville proud so all of our loved ones can hear us. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you very much, David and Tina. As I joked to Tina previously, it took three of us to replace Marty Connor. Marty Connor used to do all three of those things. It only took three of us to replace him. As Tina referred or mentioned in her invocation, we've had a few sad events for our Hall of Fame during this year. Since our last banquet, Marty Connor, who was our first president, an inductee into the Hall of Fame, and used to do all these services for us in the banquet, has passed away. Marty was here last year, did his thing for us, and a month later passed away. So we remember Marty Connor. Also, Jean Bernight, Gene Bernight was Mr. Hall of Fame for Coatesville. He was one of the founders of the Hall of Fame. He and Marty Flynn founded this organization. We gave them a Founders Award a few years ago. Gene was not in good health for a while, passed away very shortly time ago, and was totally planning on being here this evening if he could make it. He is represented here tonight by his wife Janet and other members of his family. Also, Marty Connor is represented here tonight by his daughter Patty as well. And finally, we lost Bill Clinton. We lost Bill Clinton, that Tina referred to, Uncle Bill to Tina and David, who was in our first induction class. Bill was here all the time, and his wife Ginger is here this evening. We recognize you, okay? So we want to recognize these losses we had in our committee over the past year. Now, we want to thank the Coatesville Country Club. They've become our home here with our banquet. They do a fine job. We want to thank Lori Lessick, and we want to thank Vince Forgione, the chef. We have a very, very special announcement to do. Tonight is the Country Club event manager, Lori Lessick's birthday. She is here working tonight on her birthday, the biggest event of the Country Club every year. We greatly appreciate her being here. And Lori, if you would please come up front, we have something for you. On behalf of the Hall of Fame, we have this bouquet of flowers for you.
Thank you so much.
And we are now all going to do happy birthday to Lori. Everybody ready? You get it started because I can't sing. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Lori, make me
Happy birthday, dear Lori. Happy birthday to you.
What a great job, huh? That they do here at the club, year after year for us, year after year. Okay, we're going to get started here with our ceremonies. As they're serving dessert, we want to get going here. Our goal every year is to get us out of here by 9:30, so we're going to shoot to do that again this year. Before I begin, I have some people I need to recognize who are here in attendance tonight. First, Dr. Tashner, Superintendent of Schools of Coatesville School District. Just raise your hand, Dr. Tashner. Brian Chenger, Principal of the 910 Center. Brian. Matt McCain is here, the Athletic Director for the Coatesville School District. Matt is here tonight. Rob Fisher is here. Rob is a member of the school board. He is also on our committee. Rob is on the Hall of Fame committee. And last but not least, and I have to do this properly, the Honorable Harry Lewis, State Representative, Coatesville High School graduate, and member of the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame. Another update I want to give. Last year at the banquet, if you remember, we recognized the young man who was working as a server here, John Clifford. John was on the Coatesville football team last year. If you remember our banquet last year, the night before, Coatesville had just had a dramatic win over Downingtown East. John had an interception, caught a pass. Well, I'm very proud to announce that John Clifford is now Midshipman John Clifford at the United States Naval Academy. A fine young man and a good example of what Coatesville student athletes can be. I also want to reiterate again, this whole event here tonight is possible because of the vision of two men, Gene Bernight and Marty Flynn. Gene and Marty, who founded this organization, are the reason we are here tonight. It was their vision, their idea. I'll tell you a story Mike Logue told us the other day at the meeting. When Gene and Marty started this, they made a comment, if we can have this banquet for 5 years, we're doing good. This is number 19. Next year will be number 20. I think we far exceeded what Gene and Marty had in their mind, but this was their vision. This is what they wanted for Coatesville. And look at this gathering tonight. 300 Coatesville folks here, 300 of us, as always. Okay, we're going to get everything started here. For our team recognition, this is the 8th year we've done team recognition, recognizing a team for their accomplishments. Right now, we are going to be honoring teams that were state champions or state runners-up. So even after tonight, we have multiple teams, both boys and girls, to honor. At this time, I'd like to bring up the Vice President of the Hall of Fame Committee and the person in charge of our team recognition, Jeff Chalfant.
Thank you, Scott. Welcome, everyone. As Scott mentioned, this is the 8th year that we honor a team that did something special in the history of Coatesville. And before going any further, there's a memorabilia table in the very back of the room. If you get a chance, if you haven't already, please check it out before you leave this evening. There are some really great artifacts for that '94 state championship team. And one of which is a program we put together every year for the team we're honoring. Gary Gill does this, and every year he outdoes himself. It's really nice. There are plenty of them on the table. Grab one, take it home. It's, good reading. Get down memory lane. At this time, would all team members and coaches from the '94 team please come forward? I was looking through the booklet last week when we were putting it together, and one thing that was pretty amazing, the state championship game against Altoona, Coatesville was losing by 11 points at halftime, and they ended up winning by 10 points. So that's one heck of a second half. So at this time, there's no better person to speak on behalf of the team than the coach and Hall of Fame member, Renee Talley.
I was asked to give brief remarks. I will be brief. First of all, thank you to the committee for honoring us in this way. Many of you probably followed us that year. Maybe some of you did, maybe some of you didn't, but it was kind of like the pieces of the puzzle finally all just fell together. The star players did what they were supposed to do. The role players did what they were supposed to do. The coaches, most of them are here, we think we did what we were supposed to do. And I'm not sure everybody knows this, but in the 5 state championship games, we were behind at halftime in every game. And we were sitting in Altoona, we were playing Altoona up at Hershey, and we were down by 11 at halftime. And I can remember Altoona came out, hit a three-pointer, and I thought, oh, well, second place, that's not too bad. Don't ask me what happened the last 15 minutes of the game. It was all just a big blur. Lots of pressing, lots of steals, lots of baskets, and here I am. That's about as brief as I can be. I'll introduce the people that are up here. Carol Wagner, who is assistant coach. And her niece, Carrie Wagner Spitz, who was our manager. Jane Johnson, best statistician in Chester County. And our 9th grade coach, Ruth Martin. And Becky didn't get up here, but she was the one that pieced us back together and iced things and took care of us. And before I sit down, I just want to recognize Tonetta Turner. Congratulations on your induction tonight. I coach girls with more ability, but no one who ever worked harder. So congratulations. Thank you.
And I just want to go over again what Jeff said. Please check out the table in the back. Again, I want to thank Gary Gill, who puts together the booklet and does a great job. Please check out, there are plenty of booklets back there. Grab one. Take one of those booklets and look at it. It's really well done. We have all kinds of great stuff back there from that championship run. So make a point of getting back there and get yourself a booklet. Oops. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of order here, but I'll get us going here. There we go. Okay. Our next award is the Max Stuber Award. And I just want to say that as the years go by and memories fade and new people come into the Coatesville School District in the Coatesville area, I think it's important to remind people about Mr. Stuber and why we have this award. Mr. Stuber was inducted into the first class of our Hall of Fame as a swimming coach. He was then the longtime athletic director at Coatesville High School, fondly known by everybody as Dad. That's just what everybody called him. He bled red and black. Red and black meant everything to Mr. Stuber. Upon his passing, it was decided to create an award in his memory, and it's for dedication and service to the Coatesville School District athletics. The Stuber family has always been greatly involved with this and supports our award. They're here again tonight. And now I'd like them to come up here and present the Max Stuber Memorial Award for the year 2018. Stubers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What a wonderful evening. I look around and I see so many people who Dad worked with and loved very much. For those of you who might not know who Max Stuber was, he was a very simple man. He loved his God, he loved his country, he loved his wife, he loved his immediate family, and he loved his Coatesville family. I always remember Dad saying a few things to me every now and then. He would say, "Son, the proof is in the pudding." It took me a while to figure out what that one meant. He said, "An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure." I learned quickly what that one meant. And the last one was, he said, "Son, live every day as if it's your last." And the short story I'll share with you right now will illuminate that thought. Dad was 16 years old, and he's a swimmer. He's one of the best in the town, and in his high school years, he'd represent Coatesville and bring back gold for us. But back when they were 16 and 17, he, Guy Griswold, Reds Pauling, they would come up from town and they would swim in the reservoir not 800 yards from where we're all sitting right now. And I'm not sure who found the tunnel first, but somebody found a tunnel about 10 feet underwater, and it went about 15 or 20 feet, and then it came up on the other side about 3 foot from the surface. There were no water parks back then, so this was their best idea of one. Well, my Uncle Roby was always the first one down because he was the oldest. And Dad said I would wait about 10 or 15 seconds and then I would go down. He said, well, one day. Well, evidently, someone from the community had seen these boys swimming in the reservoir. Naturally concerned, they contacted the authorities, the municipalities. And back in 1929, there was no scuba diving gear. So there was no boarding up or stopping them from going in where they were going in. So what did they do? They put boards on the exit. They had no idea. So Dad said one day we all went up, and Uncle Roby was the first one down and waited about 10 or 15 seconds. And then he went down and he said, how calmly Dad would always say things. He would say, son, when I ran into your Uncle Roby, I knew we had a problem. Well, I'm standing here and telling you the story. I've given away the ending. But needless to say, Dad and Uncle Roby turned those boards into a toothpick factory and lived to tell the tale. And just imagine, and it's hard for me to be able to imagine a world without a Max Stuber in it. Live every day as if it's your last.
It's especially meaningful for me this year to present the Max Stuber Memorial Award because I know the person receiving it so well. You can see in the bulletin, I'm in church, in the program, Janie has a very extensive bio, but I didn't want to refer to that. I just wanted to refer to some special things that I know of Janie. We share a special history. We both graduated from Cash in '72. We both sang in the Meister Singers and played in the school orchestra. And we both began our teaching careers side by side, second grade at Kings Highway Elementary School. When I was communicating with Janie to get some ideas from her, she also wanted to share that my father taught her brother Rudy how to drive, and Janie then in turn drove my father to the meetings the last several years when he was unable to drive himself but would not miss a Hall of Fame meeting. As you can see, our connections were very unique and very significant to me. Jane knew since third grade that she wanted to teach, and she's been blessed to stay on that path throughout her whole adult life. Through her teaching, her coaching, her mentoring, she's guided and instructed students for over 40 years. She supported her students by attending their recitals, their sporting events, and their academic endeavors. Her influence has made a positive impact on their lives and the lives of their families and their friends. So it's a special occasion and a privilege for me tonight to present the Max Stuber Memorial Award to Jane Johnson, a classmate, a colleague, and a friend.
Good evening. I am extremely honored to be receiving the Max Stuber Award. Receiving this award would not be possible without the inspiration I have received from my seniors and colleagues for whom I have the deepest respect and from whom I have derived the strength to challenge myself. I take it not a coincidence that God placed my path to include people like Pop Ransom, the first recipient of this award. I was blessed to grow up with community leaders like Anita Anderson and Sarah Proud in my church. Harry Lewis gave me my first job as a teenager and ended up with Al Black and Earl Johnson as bosses. And I worked for the parks. Those years rotating as an instructor at the 4 area parks were instrumental in my life, providing experience with diversity and strengthened my urge to teach. I do have to share that working the West End Park during the mid-'70s was no joke and quite a challenge that taught me valuable life lessons. The opportunity to teach for 33 years for the Coatesville Area School District allowed me to fulfill many goals while engaging with the youth of our district. It's been real journeying with mentors like Renee, Carol, Scoogie, Becky, and Chuck Carroll in the sports world, Gene Eggleston, Lynn Scheller, Billy Reeves, Gerald Dager in the music world, just to name a few, but all have impacted my life. Thank all who have supported my endeavors with the church, sports, and through music, and permitting me to work with your children. I thank my family for the gift that has been instilled in our hearts and continue through my son with his endeavors with Coaching Victory. I want to thank my husband, Al Ray Johnson, for his patience and willingness to share me with my community for the past 20 years. And in closing, I'd like to again thank the board for this recognition and congratulate all the 2018 inductees being honored tonight. Thank you.
Again, thanking the Stuber family for being involved with this. Jane is a member of our Hall of Fame committee. One thing I did not mention earlier when we did the team recognition, and I'm sorry about that, Mr. Lewis, but Bud got citations here for the 1994 team coming from State Representative Lewis's office, so we will be giving these out to the members of the 94 team. But Harry came through, as always, and supporting the Coatesville community. I forgot to mention that earlier, but I wanted to acknowledge his support of our foundation here and this tonight. Okay, we're going to go on to our first of our inductees, and that is Jerry Rubincam for baseball from the class of 1971. Known as Cuts to all of us here who have some association with him. The first thing I have to do, though, is I do have to apologize for an error in the program. If you look at your program up for Jerry, it says he was a member of that great Little League All-Star team. Well, he wasn't, and that's my fault. I put that in there. He was such a good player. All those guys were around his time. I made an assumption he just had to be on that All-Star team. Well, it turns out I was wrong, and he wasn't. But here's one thing. That crew of players all around that same time came on to be the core of some great Coatesville baseball teams that Jerry was a part of. Bobby Irvine, who's in our Hall of Fame. Greg Jemison, who's in our Hall of Fame. Dave Mark, Greg Eisenhart, Wimmy McInerney, names I can remember, Jerry, Rubincam, were all around that same time. They all came up to Coatesville and had great success at Coatesville High School. So my mistake, but he should have been on that team, or what can I say? So Jerry joins Bobby Irvine and Greg Jemison in the Hall of Fame. They had, like I said, in 1970 and 71 at Coatesville High, they had very, very good baseball teams. As a hitter and a fielder, it's hard to top what Jerry did. When Paul Schellenger, his coach, and another Coatesville High School Hall of Famer says he was the best natural hitter I ever coached, that covers it all. And it says a lot about Jerry's talent. He is a physical fitness fanatic. Jerry is graduated from Coatesville in 1971. He could come up here and play ball and do anything he wants because he's still playing softball to this day in the softball league, and he's been never stopped playing baseball once he got out of high school. You can see in the program, you know, American Legion ball and various softball leagues and everything like that. So, without any further ado, I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Jerry Rubincam. You're welcome.
I want to thank this committee for this honor, and I really appreciate it. And I want to thank the following people. My mother and father for their love and support and never pressuring me at any time to play sports. My brothers Bob and Vince, who practiced with me and always had time for me. Bob is here tonight. My coaches from Farm League through high school, especially my American Legion coach Gene Patton, who was a magician with a fungo bat. And high school coach Paul Schellenger, who threw about 100 miles an hour, just seemed like that, but especially before the Chessmont Championship games. He was really amped up. Both were professional ball players, and it doesn't get any better than that. I have always loved playing baseball and had a lot of great teammates through the years. And I'd also like to thank Jerry Flynn and John Gathercole for doing the research for my nomination, and Rob Fisher for submitting it. Thank you, guys. You're true friends. Thank you.
And as you can see in the program, Jerry played basketball Coatesville for my father, was on the varsity team for 2 years, and was on a Chessmont Championship basketball team. So he also was a fine basketball player. All right, we're going to move on to our next inductee, Voncille Gray. She's going in for track and field, specifically the shot put, and she's from the class of 1980. Now, in this case, we have where the children got into the Hall of Fame before the mom. But tonight, Voncille gets her due in this cause. Her daughters, Tavon and Kalina, are in the Hall of Fame. They were also track and field, shot putter, discus throwers. And her son, CJ, is one of the top running backs in the history of Coatesville football. But now the mom goes in. With her induction tonight, Voncille and the Gray family joins Coatesville Hall of Fame royalty. You have the Joes, the Lewises, the Promontes, and now the Grays, with their family members in the Hall of Fame. Voncille was the kind of athlete that coaches love to have because she showed constant improvement. From her sophomore year to her senior year, she just got better and better. Back-to-back Chessmont titles in the shot put, and when she left school, she was the record holder in the shot put at Coatesville. One honor in there not to be taken lightly is the fact that she was invited to compete in the Penn Relays. The Penn Relays are a big deal, and on the high school level, on the individual events, you have to be invited to go to the Penn Relays. And they look at athletes from all over the United States. Now, you know it says she finished 9th place at the Penn Relays. Do you realize how good that is? She was invited to go there, competed, and finished 9th at the Penn Relays her senior year. Quite an honor. So now I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Voncille Gray. Here for you. She needs a sword.
I'm a midget too. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Okay, first of all, I would thank the Lord for this opportunity. Next, I want to thank the Hall of Fame Committee for this nomination. I also would like to congratulate the rest of the inductees that are being honored tonight. Whew. Okay. I would like to thank my coaches, Coach Burns and Coach Hankins in the back, and Pop, who's not here today, for teaching me to love an event that I knew nothing about. Okay. It says, I remember the first day of track practice, wanted to do something but afraid to do everything. Coach Burns asked me if I wanted to run. I said, nah, I'm too fat for that. She didn't ask if I wanted the long jump. I replied, nah, I can't do that either. What? Okay. And she asked me if I wanted the long jump. I said, nah, not that either. And then she says, you want the high jump? I said, I'm too short for that. I can't do hardly anything. So she said, I got just the thing for you. And she took me to the throwing coach. And that was one of the best days of my life because they taught me to love a sport that I didn't know anything about or didn't really think about throwing. But, and it says, I use track, this is for some of the kids that's not in here, as a way to get out of doing my chores on Saturday. Yes, indeed. Because I realized track was one of those events that went away every Saturday. And I'm like, oh, I don't have to do any housework. Yay! So that was one of my favorite parts. And then the fact that I met a lot of friends that are lifelong friends today. And I want to thank my children and my grandchildren, who's some of my greatest accomplishments over here. And my 4 children, 3 of whom which are in the Hall of Fame. Inductees. Last but not least, I would like to thank my mom for moving from the big city of New York to this little old town of Coatesville. She always supported me and encouraged me to do my best. And for everyone else, you can always do your best. Thank you very much.
Voncille, you want to go with Joe? Now that's what I call somebody happy to be in our Hall of Fame. How about that speech, huh? Was that great? I just want to take a moment here to recognize some special people. Many of our past inductees from the Hall of Fame are here tonight because it's important to them. They come back every year. We get multiple former inductees who come back year after year after year. We have athletes, we have coaches, we have former Max Stuber Award winners. They're all here. These are people you see with the white flowers. Our inductees got red, they're white. We have 25 former inductees here tonight. So at this time, I ask all of our former inductees into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame to please stand so you can be recognized. All of our former inductees. Quite a group when you see them there. And like I said, they come back year after year after year. We'll always like to give an update each year on the status of the number of members of our Hall of Fame. So here we go. Not counting tonight, these inductees from tonight, we have 116 male athletes in the Hall of Fame. We have 42 female athletes. We have 18 coaches, 5 women and 13 men. 10 tonight, no, excuse me, this wasn't 10, this is number 11. 10 Max Stuber Award winners, and 4 people who received what we call special awards, Marty Flynn, Gene Bernight, Bill Null, and Doc Lee. They will receive special Hall of Fame recognition. So we have a total of 190 Hall of Famers, not counting tonight's. So that's where we stand as a Hall of Fame. On to our next inductee, Stephon Lewis, football, class of 1999. We have a great history of outstanding running backs here in our Hall of Fame, from the 4 Joe brothers to C.J. Gray to Mark McWilliams to Scott Flynn, and many of our old-timer categories were 3 sport athletes who were great running backs. Stephon Lewis now takes his rightful place with these athletes. All you have to do is look at his statistics that we have in the program and see the honors he won during his senior year. One thing I want to point out, Stephon was just not a one-year wonder. We concentrated on what he did his senior year because those statistics were so outstanding. But he had a very good junior year. He was a starter as his junior year, I believe, with 17 touchdowns and won all-league honors and everything like that. But his senior year was so great that we just kind of said, well, let's put in what he did as a senior. 4 kickoff returns for touchdowns. After 2, why did they keep kicking to him? You would think the other teams would learn. Stephon was also a member of the varsity basketball team at Coatesville. And then he went on to the University of New Hampshire. And to say he had a good career there would be a gross understatement. Record setter, All-American, and a finalist for the Walter Payton Award. That is the Heisman Trophy Award of the 1AA division. And also, while he was there, his offensive coordinator was Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly was Stephon's coach while at the University of New Hampshire. Nice little touch there. Not so much for Eagle fans, but... And he's now, of course, at UCLA. So, I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Stephon Lewis.
Oh, man. Jeez. Everybody come up here, got stuff written down. I said I'm freestyled and forgot everything I was going to say. But it's all good. I want to congratulate all the inductees. Thank the committee for inducting me. Definitely a blessing. Appreciate it. Give you a little history of when I started playing football. Was back 6 years old. My mom signed me up for Coatesville Major League. And I think it was more to get me out of her hair at the house. She went to Hussey and said, can you just put him on the team so he can stop getting on my nerves at home? And I was 6. I was younger than a lot of the other guys, so he wouldn't put me in the game. So I was on the sideline trying to keep busy, putting grass in people's helmet, all that type of stuff. So, he like, well, we got to do something. He disruptive on the sideline. So he put me in the game. And then he's like, I should have put you in 5 games ago. I couldn't get you off the field. Couldn't get me off the field. I was running all over the place, having a good time, and fell in love with football. The rest was history. Continued middle school, high school, end up going to college, playing football, play a little bit of professional football. Love every minute of it. Studied Barry Sanders growing up, Walter Payton. My teammates in college used to call me Sweetness. So definitely a blessing. But I think football has taught me a lot about life and, just about family. And I think that's important. I want to also real quick, before I go on to thank some people, I want to recognize the Skellenger family. Shawn was a good friend of mine, great athlete, and an even better person. And he'll be missed. He'll be missed for sure. I want to thank my family. I think I learned a lot from watching my brother and sister fight, like legit fight. My mom come home, asked me what happened, and I tried to explain it the best I could, but I mean, windows broken, all that stuff. I want to thank my brother and best friend Bub back there for all the competitions throughout the years. Him trying to beat me in races and all that good stuff. I know we only got 5 minutes, but I'm almost trying to beat me in races. Skug in basketball. Real quick Skug story too. It was one practice. We messed the locker room up. So Skug come in the locker room. We're not bringing the ball out to practice. We're running the whole practice. So we get out there. We run for an hour and a half. I'm winning every sprint, and he's still yelling at me, Stephon, what are you doing? I'm like, Skug, I'm winning every sprint. So after practice, I go into his office, and I'm like, Skug, why are you always yelling at me, man? He sit down on the chair. You need to worry about it when I stop yelling at you. So, I think that just a lot of things that taught me through the years, but I'm a firm believer in there's no one man better than the team. And I think I'm up here getting this award, but this is a team award for all my teammates in the past that have blocked for me or whatever they've done. Just I'm a big team guy, and I'll accept this award for our team. Thank you.
Stephon, don't feel bad. Skug yells at everybody, so he still does. I tell him about you and Nate Caputo taping me to the locker down at Scott in the locker room, which he did when I was like 6 years old. Never forgave him for it. My best friend, Skug. All right. Sorry about I went informal, took off the jacket, but I always like to show off my Red Raider red shirt and black tie, One time a year I get to wear my red and black like this, okay? So it's fine. All right, we move on to our next inductee, Tonetta Turner Ingram, basketball, class of 1992. An absolute force on the inside, Tonetta scored, rebounded, and played good defense as she dominated the paint for the Lady Raiders as a 3-year starter. She played for Hall of Fame coach Renee Talley. Tonetta set the example for the future Lady Raiders who would win the state title in 1994, 2 years after she left. She was also a great leader in the classroom as well. Please note that 3.9 GPA we have in the program for her. Like many of our inductees tonight, and if you look through the program and you see, she went on to have a great career in college, playing at Seton Hall University, earning a full athletic scholarship. And she has passed those basketball skills on to her son, Tariq, who I saw play last year, a very fine player in his own right. He plays at Monsignor Bonner, and if you get a chance to see him play, go see him play. The mom has passed on the genes to the son. Son's a little bit bigger than mom. Tariq's about 6'8", you know. So, yeah. I think Tonetta was better, but Tariq's bigger, you know, so like. But he's a good player, comes from the mom. Mom was a great player. Unfortunately, when Tonetta was at Coatesville, if you guys remember your basketball history, she ran into the Tina and Tora teams from Downingtown. Tina Nicholson and Tora Stuber were at Downingtown when Tonetta was at Coatesville. Hard to beat those teams. So I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Tonetta Turner Ingram.
First of all, I would like to thank the committee for inducting me. This is high honor. I am truly honored and I am blessed. I also like to thank everyone who supported me during that time and who support me now. I'd like to thank Coach Talley for believing in me, Coach Smith, Coach Carroll for harassing me. I also like to thank Coach Ford, may you rest in peace, for helping develop me. And also my family who is here today for coming tonight. My parents who supported me all the way through, still support me now. The family that's here to support me tonight, who also see my son play, and I thank you all for that. I'd like to congratulate all the inductees here tonight, and I'd also like to thank my heartbeat for keeping me pushing. Thank you.
Go with Greg DePedro back there for a photo. Now, in case you're wondering, you see the photo plaques up here. We're giving plaques out to each person as they come up. The photo plaques are the ones that will go up in the high school on the wall. They're the permanent display plaques. So if you're wondering why aren't the inductees getting those plaques, those are the ones that will go on the high school's permanent display. Pretty nice plaques up there, and that's why we wanted to have them here so you could see them, but that's what the photo plaques are. They're the ones that will go on display. So that's what those are about there. Our next inductee, Erik Morris, swimming, class of 1993. Okay, I said I wouldn't just read what was in the program about our inductees tonight because, you know, everyone can go through there. But will you please take a look at Erik's accomplishments while at Coatesville? His is one of the more shining examples of the term student athlete I've ever seen come through our school. I want to give some credit here to Ray Lease, who was his swimming director at Brandywine YMCA. Ray is my classmate from high school. I didn't even know he was involved with the swimming program until a few years ago when he would start coming to these banquets when his swimmers were going in. Last year, about a month after our banquet, we had inducted two of his swimmers. And so it's a month later, and I run into Ray, and I said, Ray, what swimmer are we missing in the Hall of Fame? Who do we not have in who should be? And in 0.2 of a second, he said, Erik Morris. I mean, instantly, Ray said, that's who you have to take in. So we got together with Dave, his brother, and a few others, and we put together a resume for him and put him in, and in his first year on the ballot, he was inducted. So I give a little shout out to Ray for letting us know about that, because he had not been on the ballot until this year. I'd also like to mention in the program, if you see, that Erik was the winner of the McDevitt Award. Don't underestimate what the McDevitt Award is for high school athletes in Chester County. That is the highest honor given in the county for a student athlete. I don't know that too many Coatesville athletes have ever won that award, but Erik did his senior year. And also you can see his accomplishments did not end at Coatesville. Like, again, many of the athletes were inducted tonight. He went on to have a great college career at the University of North Carolina. Very stellar career, being captain there, championship teams. Sorry, Erik, I'm a Duke fan, but, you know, Coach K, you know, what can I say? Sorry about that. But very proud, very honored. I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Erik Morris. Congratulations.
Thank you for that. I first want to start by thanking the Hall of Fame. This is really a great honor to be honored with not only the athletes that are being inducted tonight, but also the many amazing athletes that have been inducted over time. Really a humbling honor to be a part of that. As I reflected on my swimming career, and I'm certainly proud of the accomplishments. I worked hard for them, but for me, it's the relationships that have come from swimming and have come from this local community that have meant so much to me. My father always says to me, never forget your roots, son. Well, my roots are Coatesville, and my roots are swimming. I grew up across the parking lot swimming in the pool here at the country club. I met my wife there, Kathy Brenniger Morris, who I love dearly. We have 2 kids, 2 wonderful kids. The Brennigers, the Morrises, and so many other families that grew up around here as swimmers and then ultimately swam at the high school. It's a terrific place to grow up, terrific thing to be a part of. My mom said to me when I was 5 years old, I was leaving a practice here at the club, and I said, Mom, I don't really like swimming. I don't want to do it anymore. And she said, you're a Morris, and you don't quit. You're going to finish out the season, you made a commitment to your team, and if you don't like it at the end of that, then you don't have to swim anymore. Well, I think we've all probably benefited from Mother's intuition over the years, and perhaps it's 40 years later that this is the culmination of that conversation, but she was certainly a lot smarter than I was. And my dad, who spent hundreds and hundreds of hours at swim practices and at meets, conversations, we all know we can't accomplish anything without help, and he was the biggest part of my swimming career. I could not have done it without him. On to high school, as a 9th and 10th grader, having the chance to swim. Some of my best memories are with getting to swim with 17 and 18-year-old kids, competing with them. One of my earliest memories of riding a bus to a swim meet at a Norristown swim meet, probably hearing jokes on the bus that I probably shouldn't be hearing as a 14-year-old kid. But it was that camaraderie and competition, being a part of the Coatesville sports community really meant a lot. And even outside of swimming, I played other sports. I played soccer and tennis. And as a 10th grader, I was fortunate enough to have a Hall of Fame coach coaching me in Jim Scoogie Smith. It wasn't basketball for him. It wasn't swimming for me, but we both brought that same determination and hard work. And I learned so much from him, and he was a great influence on me. And as I got older and became one of the older kids on the swimming team, I was really blessed with some great younger teammates. A couple Hall of Famers in Charlie Bach and Brian McGinley were freshmen when I was a junior, and we swam together for 2 years. And along with Greg Young, we developed a really tight, great core swim team that had a lot of success. Our coach, Mike Randler, who had been my longtime coach here at the country club, and then became our coach came back to coach us at the high school. And together, the 4 of us plus him, he really gave us the confidence that we belonged with, not only in the Chesmont League, but around the district, around the state, that we could be successful and we could swim with these other big programs. And we did a pretty good job. And thank you, Coach Randler, for that. North Penn, who had dominated the district for so long and won all the relays, we took them down for a couple years. And then there were a lot of great Coatesville teams that came after us that kept that going. And finally, one other thank you that I want to make. That Norristown bus that I was on, that swim meet, we won that swim meet, by the way. And the next morning, I opened up the paper, and the headline in that paper said, Morris Brothers lead Coatesville to victory. And as a 9th grader, to have the opportunity to swim with your older brother, somebody who you looked up to, while I never would have told him that at the time, but who I look up to more now than I did then. Somebody who's dedicated his professional life and life in general to this school district and the athletic program, to the Mike Randlers, who have dedicated lives to this program, to the Skoogie Smiths, and so many others that are in this room. We as Hall of Fame inductees have been the beneficiaries of that selfless dedication, and those are the real people that should be honored. I'll certainly accept it on their behalf, but it really is for all of us athletes that benefited from that and not only got the sports guidance, but the life guidance from that. And I want to say thank you to all of them, and thank you certainly for this award.
If you want to go with Greg DePietro there, to go downstairs and we're going to get a photo, okay? Erik is very right about his brother Dave. I get to work with Dave a few times a year. He comes up, he does whatever's needed. Sometimes people might not know I announce the football games at Coatesville. I miss an occasional game. Dave fills in with me for me. Last week, our scoreboard operator, the game clock, couldn't be there. Dave fills in for him. And he is, of course, still the swimming coach at Coatesville High School. So Erik's brother Dave is Coatesville through and through. He does everything that district needs, and he's very appreciated by the people who know him, believe me. Now, just quickly about nominations to the Hall of Fame. People always ask us, how do I nominate someone for the Hall of Fame? Where there's a page in your booklet, I think it's toward the back, maybe the next to last page, and it gives you some criteria for nominating someone for the Hall of Fame. And we're always looking for qualified nominees, always. Coaches, male athletes, female athletes, Max Stuber Award nominees, we're always looking for people. So we're looking for you saying, I think so-and-so should be in the Hall of Fame. Well, we need something in writing. We need you to write out something. Here's what they did in high school. Here's what their accomplishments were. Because please remember this, we are the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame. So we just want to really concentrate on what someone did while they were at Coatesville. We do get the occasional nomination. Someone turns someone in. I think I mentioned this before. Oh, my grandfather was a great player in the City Twilight League. Or so-and-so really tore it up in the YMCA basketball league. Or we had someone turn in a resume for someone who was a great equestrian. Well, Coatesville doesn't have an equestrian team, so it was hard for us to do that. Many of us are in this room know Joe Nagy, great bowler, everything into Chester County, but we didn't have a bowling team at Coatesville. So please consider that if you have somebody you wish to nominate for the Coatesville High Sports Hall of Fame, remember that's what it is, the Coatesville High, so we need concentration on their accomplishments while at Coatesville. If you put something in writing, their accomplishments, there are 30 members of the Hall of Fame committee. We live all over the area. Just turn it in to someone on the committee, and we'll be appreciative. We're looking for them all the time. So just to consider, if you think there's someone that should be in the Hall of Fame, there's a way you can nominate them. It just doesn't come from the committee. We look for people in the community to give us their input. So just consider that if you're thinking of somebody. Moving on. Next, we move on to a new category we created this year called the Seniors category. This was created basically for athletes we knew were kind of getting missed and passed by, particularly great athletes from the 60s and 70s and some other decades going forward that might be overlooked. You must have graduated 50 years or more to be eligible for the senior category, so that will change year after year. Each year, more people will be eligible to be inducted into the senior category. And what was happening is each year, younger athletes, more familiar to us, were coming up to be nominated, and they were going into the Hall of Fame. And we just felt, we're overlooking some really good athletes, and we need to recognize them. So we created the senior category, 50 years or more out of school, and that will continue on. Some years there might be 2, 3 people. There's a possibility other years there may be nobody inducted in the senior category, but we wanted to be able to recognize them. So our first inductee this year in our brand new seniors category is Mike Rissell, football, class of 1964. Mike is the perfect example of why this category was created. A fine player. His name had been on the ballot for many years, but he had just simply been passed by. Other people had gotten more votes. And I'd also like to mention, too, Mike, that one of your true champions and supporters on our Hall of Fame committee was Bill Richards. Bill Richards really supported Mike in this category and everything. He was Mike's escort tonight, and he was your real champion of getting you this award tonight. Bill is one of our Hall of Fame committee members and a past winner of the Max Stuber Award. Like the other inductees tonight, Mike went on to have a very successful career in college at the University of Buffalo. And one final thought, again, not going over what's just straight in the program, you can all check on that, but when the Pottstown Mercury in 1987 picked their all-time Chesmont football team up to that point, that was 35 years, the Chesmont Lake had been in existence for 35 years, and they selected Mike Rissell to their all-time Chesmont team for an offensive lineman in football. That tells you what you need to know about how good a player he was in high school. First team all Chesmont offense and defense, fine career at the University of Buffalo, and the all-time team selected by the Pottstown Mercury. So I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, our first recipient in our seniors category, Mike Rissell.
Well, I thank the committee, and even if they have to create a new format to get me in, I appreciate it. But I'm a product of Coatesville. I went to parochial school. We didn't have athletic teams. There was a big gentleman with red hair called Irvine that would come down at lunchtime and take what kids wanted to out on the macadam basketball or parking lot at the church where there was baskets, and we played basketball. I mean, we never had organized sports teams. And just to go on, I went, junior high, and I wound up playing soccer. I didn't know what the soccer ball was in my life, but I wound up, I could kick the ball and it could go far. I couldn't be, not very accurate, but and then I went out for basketball because there was a basket in the driveway and I could shoot foul shots. I thought that meant I was a basketball player. Well, when I found out that you have to dribble the ball on a hardwood floor and people try to take it from you, I was no longer a basketball player. I don't think Ross would have let me make the team anyway. Though I was a teammate of a guy named Skoogie Smith. And he was great until it came to getting on and off buses because he always missed a step, would slide down and hurt his back. And it, give guys like us, Ernie, where's Ernie? Ernie Perella. He's a big Coatesville person. Him and I were the 62nd men. We sat on the bench until the clock got down to 60 seconds. And old Dan Scringy would pat us on the ass and say, "Go get them, boys." I started, I know I'm in this for football, but some of the stories, that's what happens when you get somebody over 50 years with a microphone in front of them. They kind of forget what they're doing. Anyway, we go to play Boyertown, and Dan says, "You're going to start this game." I said, "What? Christ, I can't go through the three-man weave to get to the basket and warm up." He says, "Don't worry about any of that stuff. They have this guy, and he's number 55. And he says, you'll know him when you see him. He's big, and we don't have anybody to stop him from getting to the basket." He says, "You got 5 fouls. Keep him away from the basket." So I played my first basketball game as a starter for about 4 minutes. And then I went and I sat next to Ernie. But Ernie got in at the end, but I couldn't go back in. Anyway, even funnier than that is my career with football. Never played football, Coatesville midget football, that was an in-town sport. We were out-of-town kids. We just ran around in the backyards pretending we didn't know what we were doing. Well, I go out for football and get my physical. We go, we report to Scott Field, and they're giving out uniforms. And I'm looking at this stuff. Yeah, what's this? I was the kid that had the belt, didn't know how to hook the belt onto the pants, had the thigh pads in backwards so they were pointing where they shouldn't have been. Shoulder pads, I had them crisscrossed and locked on. Jersey, helmet, didn't have a strap. And old Bob Bowman walk out and he'd blow the whistle and he'd go like that, 5 laps around the field. Well, I'd start running. And imagine running like that. You're holding your pants up. You're showing. And all these superstars from North Brandywine are quitting. They're not making it to 5 laps. Well, on lap 2.5, I said, if they're quitting, I'm quitting. Yeah, I mean, they're superstars. I'm nothing. So I come around the corner. You couldn't quit till you got to the locker room, where a coach was waiting to take your uniform. As I get around the corner, coming down the straightaway to the locker room, I'm thinking, I'm going to go in. Just then, my dad walks through the stadium door. Where are you going? I said, back out there. So what else could I do? And there I was. And, I know I didn't start out thanking my family, but John and Ann were great. My support over here, it's great. They always backed me in anything I ever did. I enjoyed it. Even when I coached at Downingtown, they rooted for me. So anyway, again, I'm thankful. I want to say personal thanks to Bill Richards, Al Black, Ross Kershey. I was through the javelin for him. Cal Bean. Anybody that I was involved with. Coatesville, at my time in the school system, was a whole system of mentors who went out, encouraged kids to play sports, not to quit, not to give up, because you never know when that opportunity is going to come for you to participate. Every coach I ever played for, wrestled for, ran for, whatever I ever did, I felt fortunate. I had something when I went to college that a lot of kids who were better athletes than me didn't have. And that's that support, that mentorship, that desire to exceed. And I thank all of those people and all of you in this room, whoever attended a Coatesville High School event, know what support and mentorship is. And continue to give it to all the young kids that are coming up today, because they have a lot more distractions to deal with than we did as kids. Again, thank you. Thank you. Excuse me.
Go with Greg DePedro for a photo. How good was that by Mike, huh? What a good speech that was. Think he's appreciative of being a member of the Hall of Fame? Yeah. Shows you. Our next senior category person is Ed Streett, baseball, class of 1968. Ed lives in Tuscaloosa, Alabama now, and he could not make it here for the banquet tonight, unfortunately. But one thing you can, again, read in the program about what he did, but one thing I do want to mention, you look at his senior year, and you see he was 6-2 as a senior. You know what his 2 losses were? 1-0 to John Matlack twice. And all of us in the room who know about John Matlack and his major league career know what that meant. Matlack beat him twice, 1-0. I was at one of the games. The only reason Coatesville lost is because the left fielder lost the ball in the sun and it literally hit him in the face, and Henderson scored a run. And that was it. They'd still be pitching 0-0. Ed was so highly regarded as a player coming out of high school that he was drafted by the Cincinnati Reds. And that was back in the days when there were only 20 major league teams, not 30 like there are today. So he was drafted right out of high school. Fine player in his high school career. So, since Ed can't be here tonight, accepting on his behalf, as someone who knows him and played baseball with him, Bob Coulter from our Hall of Fame committee will accept for Ed.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Scott. Oh, let's get this down here. I'm not as tall as you are. Yeah, when Eddie was nominated and he sent his information into myself, he asked me if I would accept for him. I said it'd be my honor. I knew Eddie growing up. We were neighbors, and I did get the opportunity to play with him. I was a sophomore when he was a senior. I was up on the varsity for one game. Other than that, it was JV. So after JVs, I did get a chance to see Eddie play. He played with good ties. He played with Zig. He played with Danny Ohar. He played with a lot of guys from Coatesville. Eddie developed, once John Matlack was out of the way, Eddie developed into probably one of the premier left-handers in the area. If you were anybody that's familiar with Coatesville baseball, you remember Eddie had one thing. As he's growing up and pitching, Eddie had a hitch in his windup, and he did a very good job of hiding the ball so you couldn't see it. It was sort of unorthodox, but there's one thing. When Eddie was pitching, you did not dig in. So Eddie lives in Tuscaloosa. Let's just hope he didn't become an Alabama fan. So on Eddie, if you're going to watch this tonight, or not tonight, but on videotape, I accept this award in your honor. Thank you very much. On behalf of Ed.
Want to leave that up here? You want to take that? Okay. Sorry about it. If you're looking through the program, you might have realized I kind of missed someone. Sorry, David. But I got my sheet here. I got it back in order. Our next inductee, David Benn, basketball, class of 2004. Putting it very simply, David Benn just looked like a basketball player. With his long arms and his speed and his quickness and jumping ability and smooth moves, coming from a basketball background myself that I have, I would just say, watching him on the court, that's a basketball player. That's what basketball players look like out there. Whether it was sticking a jump shot in your face or finishing off a fast break with a slam dunk, getting a rebound or a steal, he was always a factor on the court. He played in the state championship game as a freshman. He played JV ball as a ninth grader, but Skog brought him up to the varsity team for the district run and the run through the states. And when they got to the state title game in a very tight competitive game with Schellenger, David got in the game as a ninth grader, seeing significant minutes during that game, which tells you what kind of talent he had. After that, it was 3 years as a varsity starter. He played on championship teams as a 10th and 11th grader, teams that went into the state playoffs, scored over 1,000 points in his career at Coatesville, and was the recipient of many honors for all league and all area. You can see in the program he went on to Kutztown University, where he had, again, like many of our athletes tonight, a great college career. Some of you in the room know that I'm a big booster of the Westchester University men's basketball team. So I got to see David play against Westchester U twice a year and sometimes in the playoffs. He did put in his resume that he sent in for us that his career high at Kutztown was 38 points against Westchester, but I just kind of left that out of the program. I don't know, that just didn't make it in there for me. But he was a great player at Kutztown. You can see in the program what he accomplished there. When he graduated, their all-time career scorer. So right now, it's my honor to present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, David Benn. Good, sir. Congratulations.
Whew. Good evening, everyone. I first want to give all the glory and honor to my Lord and Savior, because without him, none of this would be possible. Secondly, my wife, Chrissell, for always being there and supporting me, especially through this process. I know I'm a handful, and I thank you for that. My mother, is so much I could say. Like, you never missed a game, no matter the distance, the time it started. You were always there, and always supported me through anything, the outcome, and I just thank you for that. And I can't forget my sister. She already let me know. Thank you. Without her, Skug would have had a field day with me. I'd have been late to practices, and she could help me out through that. But I just want to say I love you guys. But my whole life has been based around sports. Sports paved the way for me. College came through sports. I invested my life into sports. I seen the world because of sports. I'm thankful that I married into a family who loves sports just as much as I do. But growing up in a small town like Coatesville, it's rough. It's one school with so much talent. So you gotta work hard just to be better than the next person. For me, it all started as a kid. I say I was around 6 or 7. My cousin Leon would come down from Ohio, and he would always get me and my cousin Brooks to go to Benn Elementary with him to go play in the courts, 2-on-1. He was 4 or 5 years older, so of course, we were losing. But he always said if we win, he's gonna take us to Hennessy's to get some ice cream. So, as a kid, you love ice cream, so we tried our hardest, never could beat him. To me, I didn't like that. So I started playing basketball more. I started playing in leagues as, that's going around Coatesville, Westchester, or just playing, instead of playing Nintendo and Sega, I'm going out to the basketball courts and playing. And so the next time he came, I remember clearly, we were playing. My cousin Brooks passed me the ball. I finished. We won. We celebrating. Yeah. Next thing we looked up. My cousin Leon's halfway down the alley running. So needless to say, we ain't get our ice cream. But that just made me just want to work harder each and every day. I was truly blessed to have the best coaches in Pennsylvania right there by my side. Coach Skug, he's a legend. If he can't get the best out of you, then no one's going to be able to. I appreciate him for that. We have Coach Hicks. He'll have you up 6 a.m. in the mornings, running the hills, working on your game, while everybody else in my age is sleeping in the summer, having fun. I'm working hard. Coach Rhodey, I can't forget you. You're like a father figure to me. You helped me through so much in life. You were there for me, whether it was staying late for practice to get shots up and you rebounded, or coming in early and doing that. I want to say you guys are, greatly appreciated. I can't forget about my teammates. I never had brothers growing up, blood brothers, but through basketball, I met a lot of people that I can consider my brothers from here on, and I couldn't do anything without them. Like I said, it's a team game. I'm thankful for you guys. To the Hall of Fame committee, thank you for the selection. It's like the icing on the cake for me. This is where I started at. And now this is the last award I'm gonna get as a, athlete. But thank you. And lastly, to all my family and friends who were here supporting me, supporting us tonight, thank you. It means so much. And even for those who aren't able to be here, I just want to say thank you, and I know you wish the best for us. Thank you.
Maybe you want to go with Greg DePedro back there for a photo, okay? I just want to say something here. It's not my comments or off the cuff here, but how many times tonight have we heard someone mention Skuggy Smith, Skug Smith this? How many athletes have said that? Skug, stand up, please, please. Jim Skuggy Smith, Coatesville, in his red jacket. My friend, for a long time, I remember my dad being the varsity coach. Skug was my hero. I was like 7, 8, 9 years old. Skug was playing basketball at Coatesville, the best guy ever. My dad came home one day, he told me he had cut Skuggy from the squad. I started to cry. He was joking, he wasn't serious, but he said, oh, I had to cut Skuggy today, and I started to cry. I said, no, I'm not, I'm joking. Skuggy's still on the team. Skug's my buddy, and everybody loves Skug. And everybody, you hear how many times, like I said tonight, have we heard his name mentioned by people up here. I have a big thank you to make to our Hall of Fame committee, because we are a committee. You see me up here. There are 30 of us on the committee. We do this. This is our 19th banquet. We do this because we love Coatesville and we love Coatesville athletics. I have to thank some people. Jeff Chalfant, my vice president, who takes care of the ads, the patrons, the team recognition, and the vice president of the committee. Terry Johnson Lynch, who is our secretary, keeps us in order, takes the minutes, gives us excellent. You ought to see the minutes she prepares for each meeting. I mean, they're like, congressional record type things. They're just so neat and organized and precise. She keeps us in order. Gary Gill, our treasurer, and so much more. Hard to describe to you folks what Gary Gill does for that committee. The recognition booklet back there is his project. He keeps the books in order. He's one of those people that's like, what do you need? What can I do? What can I do? If he was just our treasurer, he'd do a great job. But there's so much more that he does, and we're appreciative. Our banquet chairman, Mike Logue. Mike puts this banquet, works with the country club every year. It's not easy. We had Lori Lessick up here early. We drove her crazy this year because we kept changing the number of people at the banquet. I think we started out, we told her, oh, it's going to be 280, and then it was 285, and then it was 298, and then it was 302. And it's just, in the last 5 days, I think we changed the number on her 6 times. But that's Mike and our committee working with them, and they really, do a fine job for us. He doesn't like to be recognized, but he's getting his name mentioned. That is Doug Haight, and Doug does the program. Doug puts the program together for us. Another Coatesville guy. Doug's a teacher at Coatesville High School. He is, as all of us know who graduated, Doug is now the current editor of Teleria, the yearbook. Doug does Teleria, the yearbook for the high school, teacher of the high school, works in the press box with me at football games, Coatesville High grad. All he wants to do is serve Coatesville. So that's what Doug does for us. Our plaques tonight, photo plaques, award plaques. Frank Mashuli, new to the committee this year, and Danny Jones, who's been on the committee for a few years now and is in our Hall of Fame. That's their project, putting together the plaques. Everyone else on the committee that jumps in for this banquet. I can mention them all. I just wanted to make sure I mention those people's names because they are completely instrumental in the success of this Hall of Fame and this event we put on every year. Okay, we're going to move on. Next inductee, Kenya Woodall, track, class of 2012. As I like to say with this group of inductees tonight, and the hits just keep on coming. So now we move on to Kenya. I don't think she knows it, but this year, Kenya, you were a unanimous selection to the Hall of Fame. You received every single vote that was cast. In her first year of eligibility, this was her first year she became eligible, and she was a unanimous selection. But I will tell you that last year, Sheena Crawley, who went in, was a unanimous selection also. So that's back-to-back years. We've had a female track athlete be selected unanimously for the Hall of Fame. Okay, let me give you, as again, you can look in the program and see her statistics, and like I said, I don't like to repeat it, but I'll give you my memory of Kenya. And she went to the state meet, okay? She did not win the 100 meters at the District 1 meet. And she got to the state meet and she made it to the final in the 100 meters. And she was not the top seed in the finals of the 100 meters at the state meet. Gun goes off, they go down the track. I swear 6 runners came across the finish line at the exact same moment. You talk about a blanket finish. It was that. So, of course, they have to go to the photo finish. And I'm watching this on PCN, the cable network. They're showing it live. And there was a delay. There was a good delay, about a minute, minute and a half. And then finally they said, the announcers goes, oh, they gave it to Woodall. And I got so mad. Like, they gave it to Woodall? What, the judges got together and had a vote? It's an electronic timing device. They looked at the photo, and Kenya won the event. Yeah, but I'll never forget that. Oh, they gave it to Woodall. No, they didn't. She won it. Well, how do you get so photo finish? Yeah, because it's a photo, and they look at it. Then after that, she went on and won her specialty. As we all know, her great specialty was the 400 meters. Then she ran on 2 relays on that day. It's 2 individual events, 2 relays. Both of the relays placed, and she led her team to a state championship. And that group will get recognized here in a few years as we recognize our state title teams a few years away. But that 2012 Girls State Championship track team will be one of our team recognitions coming up in the future. Again, like so many of our athletes, if you check in the program, she went on to have a great career in college at the University of Cincinnati. So I present for induction tonight to the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Kenya Woodall. There you go.
Okay, I don't have nothing written down, but I'm thankful for the committee and for my coaches, Coach A, and Coach Smith, and Bottoms, and Henry, who's not here, for putting up with my nonsense, because I had a lot of it and I still got a lot to give. About that race that he was talking about, fun fact, I told Coach A I wasn't going to run the 100. He's not a man of many words, but his face said everything. But I didn't have it in me to not run. I told him I was going to false start on purpose. I didn't have it in me because I didn't want Norristown girls to beat me. So I had to figure it out. And I won. I wasn't expecting to win. I just wanted to get points for my team, and I did. But about that whole experience, it was never about me. I never cared if I won or not. I just was worried about making my coach happy because I know that's what he wanted, a state title. So I wanted to give him that. And when we got it, I was happy because it was never about me. I always made it about him and my team. So thank you, everybody.
Go with Greg DePietro, the guy who's going to get a photo, okay? You should have seen her run the 400 meters, folks. Look at her, you got a long, lanky athlete. You should have seen her run the 400. It was great. No one touched her. Her senior year, I don't know, probably exaggerating. We always remember things differently. I think she won the 400 meters at the state meet by like 3 or 4 strides. It wasn't even close. She just ran away from everybody. She was a great 400 meter runner. Here's some other items I want to bring out about what our committee is involved in. Each year, the Coatesville School District gives out their awards to the Outstanding Male and Female Athlete Award at Cash. Now, we don't pick the winners. That's picked by the district coaches, but we do give the cash award that the Outstanding Male and Female Athlete wins each year. We've done displays of Coatesville sports history at several events, and in the year 2020, the Chester County Historical Society is going to be doing a display, a year-long display called A Century of Sports in Chester County. And they're going to be doing all communities and all sports. Well, our committee is going to be involved with that. We're already starting to think of things we're going to give them for Coatesville High athletics for a century of sports in Chester County. So we'll be involved with that, giving them memorabilia and other items like that. Now, next year will be our 20th annual induction ceremony. So we far surpassed that 5-year thing that Gene and Marty were talking about earlier. If we can make 5 years, we'll be doing great. Well, next year's number 20. And we're looking forward to that. And we're going to do some special displays here with all our past inductees. And we're also trying to get as many of our past inductees here as possible for next year. So to our past inductees here now and the people going in tonight, we want to make an effort next year. Number 20, we want to make this special, and we want to get as many folks here. So just think about that. Put that on our calendar. And if you know other past inductees, let them know. Let them know about that. So we'd like to get them in there. So that'll be our special event for next year, number 20. Okay, moving on to our next inductee, Shawn Skellenger, wrestling, class of 1999. Shawn was voted in by our committee in April, and then we were all stunned by the tragic events of July. The attitude of our committee was he was voted in and we're going to induct him if we have the support of his family. Well, I think as you can see tonight, we had the support of his family. He was a fine football player with just 1 year at Cache. Now, I've been the football announcer for 21 years at Coatesville High School, taking over from my father. And my first year of announcing games at Coatesville was the 1998 season. So I got to announce Shawn Skellenger giving the ball to Stephan Lewis all that year. Think how fun that was to see those two great athletes operating at the same time at Coatesville. His 2-year career at Cache as a wrestler was simply put stellar. Shawn is only the 6th wrestler we have ever inducted in our 19 years for the Hall of Fame. His name was on the ballot for a few years, and I'll admit that I was the one that was always a real champion in him. I always looked at Shawn's stats, and I tried to tell the committee, we got to consider Shawn Skellenger for wrestling. I really think he's worthy. And I say I pushed for him, but I was always advocating for him to be inducted as one of our inductees. So, I'm very proud to announce that I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Shawn Skellenger, being represented tonight by his family. His father, Mark, his mother, Linda.
Thank you to the committee, Scott, Gary Gill, and Rob Fisher in particular, who I know were advocates. You know, our hearts are heavy and we're filled with sorrow, but we're also filled with a tremendous amount of gratitude. Excuse me. A tremendous amount of gratitude to Coatesville. Shawn was only here for 1.5 years in school, and he came here from Great Valley, and at the time, a lot of people said to me, and I pushed for it, you know, why are you taking him to Coatesville, in a rather condescending manner? Well, this is why he came to Coatesville. Every single person in this room is why he came to Coatesville. He loved Coatesville. He considered himself a Coatesville kid. He knew about this, as Scott referenced, and he was very successful in business and received a lot of awards, including a CEO award and that plaque there. This award meant more to him than anything. Coatesville meant the world to Shawn. He was a tremendous friend, and a lot of friends are here. He and Steph were a hell of a backfield. They were a hell of a backfield. That was a heck of a team. I remember John Barr was the coach, and they beat Bethlehem Catholic, was number 3 in the state, and John put in the paper, that's the best game a high school quarterback ever played for me. The next day, Dan Ellis's mom called him. However, John stuck to that quote. Coming to Coatesville was a great move. I think Shawn's greatest impact was how he continued to do this as his friends and business mates are here and his family. He lifted people up around him. When he came to Coatesville, the wrestling program was on the ropes. He overcame poor coaching, me. But my first year here, we had 6 kids on the entire team, and I know there were discussions to disband the program. I mean, it costs money. It's a public school district. Then Shawn came, and the program immediately gained relevance, because he had a reputation. People knew who he was on the mat. There were a lot of kids that came out the next year. It was a good group that came up from the middle school. His impact on those kids remains to this day, including, I know at least 2 here today, Chris Walton, who's the superintendent here, and Jamie Gill, Gary's son. But his impact on those kids and showing them how to work hard, what the sport meant in a school, quite honestly, that didn't really care about the sport at the time. But then there were all of a sudden people coming to the matches to see this new kid who's throwing people all over the place. And he gave the sport relevance. And then we know, anybody who knows Coatesville Athletics knows that Coatesville Wrestling now is one of the top programs in District 1. And I'd selfishly like to think that Shawn sort of began that, taking it from, it might be disbanded, to standing up there as a regional champion. The education that he received at Coatesville, two teachers in particular, Mr. Kershey, who he was privileged to have in class. He comes home and, I got this teacher, Mr. Kershey. This guy's unbelievable. I hear this stuff. The education mattered. I'm an educator. He came to Coatesville for a lot of reasons. Diane Doherty taught him how to write, and he was able to take that to Penn State, where he got his business degree. He had an outstanding education. He had a tremendous experience here. He loved Coatesville. Friendships, tradition. A couple of highlights, just a couple of sports highlights. That is why he's here. The Carlisle tournament, his senior year. He defeated two state medalists. He won his 100th match, and I still remember we're in the locker room. He's going to wrestle this two-time state medalist in the finals. And Shawn and I are sitting there in the locker room, and this kid comes in, he's talking to his buddies, and he's been killing people the whole day. Oh, yeah, I got this kid from Coatesville in the finals. And Shawn looks up, and that match did not end well for that young man. I have one other story to give you an insight into the type of human being he was. Besides, and it's been mentioned, what a tremendous friend he was. Jeff pointed out at Shawn's memorial that, if you needed a meal, Shawn would feed you. If you needed a place to stay, you could stay with Shawn. If you needed a job, he would hire you. No matter what you had done in the past, he would give you an opportunity. Coatesville gave him an opportunity. Jim Hudson was an English teacher he had. Jim made a little statement after Shawn passed, remembering him in class one time. And Jim is talking about, it comes up hermaphrodite. And he said, Shawn leans back with that smile of his, raises his hand, Mr. Hudson, what's a hermaphrodite? And I'm trying to kind of say, how do I say this, male, female, this and that. He said, Shawn leans back again, smiles and said, geez, if I was that, I'd never have to leave home. But that was Shawn. He was a little irreverent, but he was always respectful. And I want to leave you with this. He loved his mother. He loved his brother. There's a lot of pain, obviously, but that young man lived a great life, and this community was his community. And I thank the committee for recognizing that. If he were here, he would say to you that I love you, Coatesville. So I'm speaking on his behalf and saying that. Thank you.
You want to tell me that athletics at Coatesville doesn't mean anything to people? What an example that is. Our final inductee tonight, Ryan Shaver. Now, this is a little unusual situation with Ryan, and that's why we have special recognition in the program for him, listed in the program. He's a major in the U.S. Air Force. Guess where he's stationed? Alaska. So it was just not feasible for him to be here. In fact, he was recently deployed to South Korea. So he just couldn't make it here this year, but he was very honored about us inducting him. Now, what we've done is, he is in the Hall of Fame. His photo's in the program. We have a write-up for him. We have a plaque and everything for Ryan when he's able to make it. So hopefully next year, he's hoping he's going to be transferred to the lower 48 states and can make it to the banquet. So what we're going to do, and Ryan will let you know about this, and if you will get to watch this on 3C TV, Al Ray's network back there, in a couple weeks when it's available, we got your plaque. We got your photo plaque. You're in the program. When you can make it here, we're going to honor you. And that's our attitude. So that's why we say Ryan Shaver's inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's a special recognition category. And when he's, as a member of the military, serving our country, we're not going to overlook him or bypass him. You're in the Hall of Fame, Ryan, and when you can make it here, we're going to honor you. So that's for Ryan Shaver, inductee into our Hall of Fame. And I do have his email, so I'll send him an email telling him he can check 3C TV and see the ceremony tonight. So we're going to wrap up here, and here's some basic announcements toward the end. We'll be back at the Country Club again here next year. It'll be our 20th ceremony, and I want people to come, and we're going to make this special, number 20. You can always plan for this banquet. I don't want anybody to say, oh, I don't know when the banquet is. Yes, you do. It is the third Saturday of October, always. This is like the 18th year in a row. The banquet is on the third Saturday of October. So don't tell me you can't plan for it. Don't tell me you don't know when it is. Third Saturday of October. So next year, that means it'll be October 19th, year 2019, here at the Coatesville Country Club, 5 p.m., 300 people, hopefully, or more next year for the big event. Now, a few other things. Al Ray Johnson, Janie's husband, is back there. They're taping. This is 3C TV. This event will be archived. It'll be available, Al Ray says, in approximately 2 weeks, sir. In about 2 weeks, you can go on to 3ctvlive.com and watch the banquet that's been taped tonight. So that's going to be available. Okay. Also, this Friday, Al Ray runs another network. This Friday's football game between the 9-0 Coatesville Red Raiders and the 8-1 Downingtown East Cougars will be, will be on Al Ray's other network, ChestmontFootball.com. Right, Al Ray? ChestmontFootball.com. So if you can't make it to the game, but try and make it to the game, we'll be on ChestmontFootball.com. So you can watch that one live. Okay? Now, I need all inductees to come forward here for a group photo. We're going to do a group photo with all our inductees tonight. Also, important announcement, the bar in the back of the room will be open when we're done for maybe a half hour, 45 minutes after the ceremony's done. So go back and socialize and tell stories or tell lies or whatever you want to do. But go tell them how great you used to be. We're all great 30 years ago. Okay, so inductees up front, bars open. Oh yes, we also have, I'm sorry, I almost missed this. We have a special ceremony, a special event is going off. We're going to have something, folks can go out to the balcony and watch. We have a special, I don't know what to call it, light display or light show that we're going to do sort of in memory of Shawn Skellenger. They're going to have a special event outside that'll be visible from the balcony. So that'll be also available. So I want to thank you for being here this evening, and we'll see you again next year for number 20. Yeah, it did. Great. Thank you very much. Good job, Scott. All right, thanks, buddy. All right, Scott. Thank you for helping out tonight.